YouTube Ozick going the Goat House is back after the Chargers-Raiders Thursday night football game, and another great one. Keep getting these great primetime games. They need to keep it up. We got a Christmas game next week. We'll have you covered for that, as well as all the games here at the Goat House. If you're new, please subscribe. Full NFL coverage, even in the offseason. Follow that Twitter. Always talking during live games. A lot of NFL content on there. Check it out. Link down below for that, as well as the Instagram podcast, Patreon. The Patreon has a bunch of bonus content every single week, score predictions, extra score predictions, my bets of the week, a lot more. You'll find a link down below for that Sided app as well. We have a page on there, some debates. You guys comment, debate, just like you do in the comments on YouTube or Twitter, and you earn points and can win Amazon gift cards. It's pretty cool. Check it out. But my takeaways for the Raiders-Chargers game: the Chargers win. Another Chargers game and another day of Justin Herbert looking like a polished NFL quarterback. I mean, ridiculous. I mean, he had some bumps in the road against, the Patriots. Falcons game was all right. Especially at the end, it was very, very good last drive. Continues to be clutch. Looks polished. Relaxed in the pocket. That's kind of one of the surprise things. I know the Raiders didn't really get much pressure. They were collapsing the pocket quite a bit. The offensive lineman still staying in front, but the pocket kind of closing in on Herbert. And he stays relaxed. There's veteran quarterbacks that panic in that situation, like good, veteran quarterbacks that still, kind of panic in those situations. Herbert just continues to be a surprise, a serious candidate for Rookie of the Year. Justin Jefferson was kind of pulling away, but Herbert with a game like this kind of potentially takes that back. I don't even know what to say. I'm just surprised. I'm thrilled that he's that good of a talent already. That kind of goes into Anthony Lynn and his staff. They deserve. They've taken a lot of heat, as they should, but they deserve some credit for the rapid development of Justin Herbert here. Nobody expected him to be this good. Especially right off the bat. We knew he had the arm talent downfield. There was a lot to work with. It seemed like confidence was an issue. It seemed like he was in his own head, and that was going to be the challenge and lengthy process to get him in the right, get his head right. And for some reason it's already right, So you got to give credit to the coaching staff, but also the system. I think they got the right system. The play calling at times, the play calling in crunch time is what's wrong here. But the play calling, some of the play designs are fantastic. There's a mixture of pretty much everything. I feel like that playbook is full of any type of play call there could be for Justin Herbert. Credit to Justin Herbert for allowing that, being good enough to handle all that. But I mean, look at these different drives. The first drive of the game for the Chargers, they stop the Raiders. They get the ball back. They get the ball, and that first drive, a collection of they threw in some one-read plays in there, here and there. And there's a lot of teams that run that because their quarterback, that's the only thing they could do. Herbert can do more than that, but it's good to have that for a young rookie quarterback, but it's good to have that in general, especially those play designs. Those one-read plays, it's out, in three-step drop maximum. It's out pretty quick, but you better scheme something up for the guy to be wide open. I see some teams just going simple out routes, simple quick slants, just too basic, but they got some good play designs on those one-read plays, to get them going, and Herbert executes. So there are times where you can definitely credit Anthony Lynn and company here for their play calls and play designs and the development of Justin Herbert, having him in the right system, because he could be in a lot of other places. Just imagine if he was drafted by some other teams, a bunch of different teams we could talk about, that probably be you probably wouldn't be as good right now. So there is some credit there. But yeah, the first half play calling, like I said, I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. And then you see a negative is kind of the second half play calling. Don't really mind the overtime play calling, but second half, a lot of playing for field goal. I don't like that, even if you have Justin Tucker as your field goal. I don't like playing for a field goal. And they got Badgley, who's been very inconsistent, not good. A lot of kickers haven't been good. So I disagree with that. Just go win the game, especially where you're at. Herbert's just dominating when he throws the ball, but also, look where you're at. You're in a losing season. You're really not going anywhere. Playing for a field goal, playing barely to win or tie the game. Come on now. Just go out and win the game. I think they were, going to try to put the ball in the end zone no matter what in overtime, not play for a field goal there. So at least they had that going for them. Receiver unit looked great. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, limited, and boy were they limited. Was not expecting that. Keenan Allen, I started him in fantasy. I know a lot of you did. He told the camera in pregame. By the way, he looked good in pregame. Looked normal. He looked just fine when he played too. When he actually was on the field, but he told the camera, don't sit him, keep him in fantasy wise. So that kind of, got me hyped about that. Yeah, so he just didn't play. He had less snaps than Mike Williams played, so maybe he was hurt and he looked fine. I don't think he played a snap in overtime. I'm really surprised, that he wasn't just putting himself in, because I think he has the power to put himself in. Keenan Allen. Maybe the training staff was just saying, "Hey, you're not going in." It's hard to believe. So, a little concerning there, I suppose. But it's not a season where it's a season where they're not going anywhere. But the receiver unit, Guyton, his speed downfield, they found some gems. There, Guyton, a couple of these guys. Hunter Henry played a great game, snatching some balls. He had some good routes too. These guys, they got some playmakers out there. They got the guys that are right for the system, so they know how to find the talent that fits what they want to do. So there are situations where you can blame, the staff, the front office, but they know how to find the right talent, for their system. So yeah, that whole receiver unit, including Hunter Henry, the tight end there, they played a great game. They played a great game helping out Herbert as well. Seems like all a good fit. They mesh well together. I didn't like playing for the field goal, at the end of regulation. Other than that, kind of solid. Defensive, I noticed that the speed, the angles on the tackles, I didn't like. Mariota he's faster than he looks. He looks pretty fast too, but he's pretty fast. And I know they weren't ready to game plan for that. Game planning for Derek Carr, game planning for Marcus Mariota, two totally different things. But they were letting Mariota have too many yards. They were letting him break tackles. The angles weren't good. They couldn't really catch him on angles, which is a concern. What happens if you play faster guys, faster receivers? When you play the Chiefs twice a year, they need to add some speed on defense, in my opinion. So that's something I noticed. Great game, though. They knew the Raiders made a mistake, kind of give them a chance in overtime. They went down and executed Herbert with a good deep. Well, it could have been a better deep ball. It could have been a touchdown, but still, it's a far throw. Kid looks good. For the Raiders, I thought Marcus Mariota looked fantastic. Given him getting thrown into a situation in a game that you're going to have to keep scoring because you got a good opponent on the off. They're good on offense. In this game, you're going to have to keep up with them. And then him, not playing football for a bit. He was missed some time this year. He had some weird injuries where it was like nerve damage around there. And he even said after the game, we've heard that in the past, that he kind of was in his own head, kind of getting down on himself. Is he ever going to come back? He was, the last few times he played for Tennessee, he wasn't running as much because of the injuries. And he's not really just a pocket passer. They were trying just to do that with him. So now you see him ready, and that's kind of surprising that he's that ready. He was actually hyped in this game too. You see him kind of getting fired up, running the ball extremely well. Looked fast, looked kind of back to his younger days, which is he's still not, he's not an old guy at all. But it was great to see. Breaking tackles, very good on the ground, throwing the ball well. He had a ball to Darren Waller downfield for a touchdown. It was a perfect ball. He did have, the interception that Chris Harris had was a little behind. It was unfortunate, a little behind. And then he was kind of fortunate in overtime. He didn't have one. So there was those moments, but I still definitely a positive day. I wish they would have ran him more because they did, I wish they would have ran more RPO too, because that looked beautiful too towards the end of the game. They decided to pass. So the RPO was so quick to Darren Waller. I think they could have ran him a little more because given that the Chargers didn't really game plan for this. You have this set game plan. Defenses rely on their game plan so much, and it's understandable why. They watch so much film. They try to, all right, this play is coming based on formation, alignment. This play is coming. They do that. They kind of try to catch trends because offenses do what works. They don't go away from things that work. So changing quarterbacks completely threw them off. You got to keep running the ball, especially down in overtime at the end. I'm surprised, they went run, and they tried to do a rollout pass till there was one option. I don't like that at all. Maybe a little more read options, even a play action bootleg, just around the outside, mainly for Mariota to run, but have one option. You need to do that on early downs. That play on third down, I don't like it. I think Witten they were trying to scheme that up for. I don't really like it, but if you do that on early downs, it's fantastic because the Chargers in this case don't know if it's a run or pass. In that situation, they know it's a pass. Then fourth down comes in overtime, and they should have went for it. Know your opponent, know your defense, know yourself. I mean, you have to know your own identity there. So I like Gruden. I like some play calls, some things he mixed in for Mariota. Even for him, just adjusting on the fly when that's a good job. It's tough to do. But I didn't like you at the end of this game. The defense was playing bad. Herbert was lighting them up. Receivers were lighting up. They were gonna go down there and score, and they knew field goal was an option. So if you kick a field goal, they're not interested in kicking a field goal to tie the game at their point of the season. Who knows? They may have, but I don't think so. You go for that. You go for that there. You're trying to play for the playoffs, so play for the playoffs. Go to win the game. I think you should have went for it there. And if you don't get it, it's tie game. The Chargers, just like they did, before overtime, they may play for a field goal then. They weren't going to play for a field goal to tie, but they may play for a field goal for the win. And we know, a field goal make from Badgley is not guaranteed. It's not even near that. So, they definitely should have went for it. Know your own team. Know your defense. Know your opponent at the same time. So not the best job there. Not the best play calling. Not at the end. Not the greatest decisions. I thought, Darren Waller, no surprise. Another great game from him once again. Nelson Aguilar has been ridiculous. I think he's been fantastic for them. We know he has the speed, the big playability, the route running, and the defensive recognition here, recognizing zone coverages, man coverage. He's been fantastic, finding gaps in zones. He's been great. Him and Waller are their best two, targets there, which is crazy, but really not Waller. Waller's not crazy. I guess going into last year, before last year, what if somebody said, next year your two best targets are going to be Darren Waller, Nelson Aguilar? People have been like, what? So it's pretty ridiculous. They could use another receiver for sure, another number one, because there's just so much looking for Waller. Let's look. That's kind of their offense is based on that. Now Aguilar, Aguilar is really not a guy that, maybe sometimes, but not a guy where you start a play where he's your number one option. Maybe they can do more of that, but so they need another receiver. There's just so much. Okay, well, on this play, let's go to Waller, and teams are going to start to figure that out, get away with it on some teams like this, but so they're going to need to add somebody else. Ruggs is going to be good. He's an electrifying player, but he's kind of one-dimensional in his game, which he's so electrifying in that game where it's kind of okay. Not really. You kind of wish there was more to his game, and he'll develop more. He'll learn defenses, how to read defenses, but you just need some guy, somebody else, another Waller, but more of a receiver type, which he kind of is. But yeah, Josh Jacobs I kind of put in the middle because towards the end he had some big runs, breaking some tackles, making some nice cuts, catching the ball even. He had some plays here and there, but there's nothing that drives me, and you guys know I've been pretty, I've hit on running backs come out of college quite a bit, and it's because I think they're pretty easy to judge. And one thing I kind of not scratch a guy off, but move him down instantly is if I see he has hesitation in the backfield. And Josh Jacobs, it's gonna take a lot for me to kind of move him down the board, and in my head, his stock, I guess, as he's in the NFL. But so much hesitation in the backfield, he's driving me crazy because he gets the ball and he sits there, and there's times where there's guys in the backfield, but there's times where they're not. There was a play later in the game where Bosa ended up being Colton Miller and getting the Jacobs, but if you watch it again, Miller did enough there to keep him in front. The only reason Bosa got to him is because Jacobs is still in the backfield shifting around where, you just can't do that. In a moment like that, there was a gap. It's not like there was a collapsed, it was collapsed in the backfield. There was plays like that, but that's what separates from the great from the good, and that's when I judge guys when hesitate sometimes in the backfield. It's not the end of the world. They can still be a very good running back because what they have to offer after the fact, which Josh Jacobs has. But you look at the great quarterbacks, running backs. They don't hesitate, and even if there's not a hole, they make the hole. They make the play anyways. Looking at a guy like Derrick Henry, guys like that, like Dalvin Cook, who are at the top of the NFL right now. So Josh Jacobs got to fix that. But after contact, after the hole, downfield, outside, he's fantastic, and those were the good parts of this game. But it drives me nuts when running backs do that, and I don't want to see that from Jacobs because he's very talented. He's extremely talented. He did it quite a bit in this game. So he's kind of in the middle there. Need to see better from him. Play calling decisions, we kind of talked about that. mainly at the end. We already covered that at the end. I didn't like the decisions. Kind of know your own team, know your own identity. You're fighting for a playoff spot. Go win the game. It's things that just drive me nuts. Because I shouldn't. You don't expect it from a guy like John Gruden as well. And I know his quarterback got hurt, but Mariota was playing a good game. That brings up the debate: how would the game been with Derek Carr? With Derek Carr, Derek Carr, no secret, he's a better quarterback than Marcus Mariota. But the game plan factor, the Mariota won on the ground, and that opened up the pass plays, and he hit in the air. He hit on the pass plays. So, I don't think it would have been much different with Derek Carr. It might have been better in this game with Mariota, honestly, just because you could argue maybe Derek Carr would have. No, but they ran the ball twice in overtime. They only it's the same play they've been running. It's a play that Derek Carr had to throw a ball away or run out of bounds, and similar thing there. So I don't know. I think Mariota played a great game. I think they threw the Chargers off. They had a realistic shot to win the game. They probably should have won the game. But then going into the secondary played very, very poorly. Trayvon Mullen, who I've been liking, he's been making good plays and showing promise that he could be a top 10 corner in the future. Not yet, but this game was a rough one, very rough one. He was losing traction, losing his feet, losing his balance. Fell down a couple times. Receiver barely making contact, not enough to call pass interference. Trayvon Mullen go flying like he got mauled. Did that a couple times, and either way, it's bad. If you're falling down from that much contact because you can't handle it, or you can't control your balance, your momentum, that's bad. If you're going down like that to try to sell a pass interference, that's bad. You should be you're trusting yourself to make the play. So either way, not good. He did have that it was a shot to the end zone where was it Guyton? It might have been Guyton. I can't really remember, but had it for a split second, but never gave him firm possession because Mullen had his arm underneath there, kind of knocking it. And then Mullen took the ball and slid out of bounds. I think he had possession. It was a tough one to challenge. Gruden, maybe in hindsight, should have challenged it. But I don't know if that would have been overturned. But watching that again and again, I strongly believe that was an interception. That for me, and I probably would put money on them keeping it incomplete. For me, I believe that's an interception. I don't think the receiver ever had firm possession. He didn't have it long enough. Mullen had his hand under there and kind of knocking it and just took the ball, and he had possession because he had it by himself. I think he gained possession, tightened it up here, and then he slid out of bounds. He wasn't out of bounds when he just gained possession. I thought that, for me, I thought that was an interception. If that's not an interception, or if you think that's a catch by the receiver, you might as well not put any corners out there because it's making it even harder to play the position. I thought that was a great play, one great play by Mullen in that one. But I say coaching kind of goes along with the secondary playing poor because they continue to run zone cover two. They do run a little bit of cover two man under, which is different, which is. It's the same idea with the safeties. You got two split safeties, and they got 50%. They got zone coverage, 50% of the field. It's the same idea, but with cover two, the zone coverage, the Raiders are running where they got beat on a lot. The corners will just have flats. Everything's zone coverage. They'll have just 5 to 7 yards maximum. Their responsibility is the flat. When man under, they're sticking to their man quite a bit. If a guy goes out in the flat and continues to kind of go on, a little further than that, the corner will typically stay on him a little longer there or for the whole time. And a linebacker will be responsible for somebody leaking out in the underneath. They're real shallow in the flat. So I prefer that, and they've had run that here and there, but I noticed a lot of just cover two zone, just zone coverage, and I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it unless you got extreme talent, experience running that, and they don't really have that, and it just makes it harder on their guys there, So I don't like that. Paul Gunther running too much cover two, and then hurting the team because of that, and then they fire him, and it's just even worse. I think even worse of a game there called by the staff. So they pretty much kept it. And to me, that teams mix up their coverages. They'll run if you run, Colts are a very good cover 2 zone team. A team like the Saints and Giants, I noticed, run a lot of cover 2 under. Those are really good, or man under, I should say. Those are really 2 cover 2 man teams. But even them, they switch it up a little bit. They'll throw man, they'll throw cover 3. They'll mix it up quite a bit. And the Raiders just aren't mixing it up enough. And what that tells me is they do not have trust in their defense. They have no trust. So that could be a knock on the players. Maybe they're judging them wrong. Maybe they're judging their own players wrong, but they have them in practice. They have them game after game. So you can evenly blame the coaching staff and the players there. But yeah, them not mixing it up, pretty much staying pretty strict cover 2 there. That tells me they don't have a lot of trust in the players. But then you go back to the game like the last Chiefs game. They're running more man coverage and pressing guys like Kelsey at the line with cornerbacks. And that's like the last thing. You're kind of going against on what you do and what you shouldn't do against the Chiefs. So that's where you blame the coaches big time there. So not good. The Raiders might have just knocked themselves out of the playoffs with that one. It was a must-win game. I don't know if an excuse is, you could use that, and you can't really say you're wrong. You're wrong if you use the excuse that your quarterback got hurt because, hey, your quarterback got hurt. He's been playing pretty good football. So it's kind of a legitimate excuse, but I'll say I don't think that was the reason they lost. I think Mariota kind of gave a different game plan factor. I think the defense and the coaching staff with their play call decisions in overtime and their decision not to go for it, just trusting their defense, just not knowing your own team. What week are we in? 15? You're fighting for the playoffs. You need to win. You need to win the game, not tie, not give the other team a chance. So I gotta blame them more. Know your own team, know your own opponent. I kept saying that. I'm gonna keep saying that. So that's a tough one. Mariota looked good. It was good to see him. Notice that Gruden from last year to this year wanted to run more RPO plays, and he's done that. And then Mariota looks pretty good running it. So who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? Every offseason the Derek Carr discussion comes up. Is he still their guy? He had a good season. He had a really good season. He played great early in the year. Last year, I was saying first half of the year looked great. Second half of the year looked bad. This year, first half of the season looked great. Second half of the season looked good. He still kind of took that step down a little bit, but still looked like a good quarterback, well deserving of starting. But then Mariota brings the legs factor, the running factor. It's a new era with the play calling, the play styles, and if you got a quarterback that can move and that can throw on top of that, you're in business. So it's going to bring up an interesting debate, but it's pretty clear that Derek Carr is the better quarterback. But I like what I saw from Mariota. So we'll see if Carr's back next week. Big game against Dolphins. Could be Mariota versus Tua Tagovailoa. That could be interesting. But the Chargers, promising for the future. What the question that comes up for them? What do they do with the staff? You wish you had everything kind of combined because they're very good at developing Herbert. They're very good at recognizing talent that fits their system. They're very good at the playbook. The playbook's great. The play designs are great. Knowing what you need to do, to have a good drive. But in crunch time, game management skills, relying on things that don't work and going away from things that do work. They're split. You go from one extreme to another. You wish you had a complete coaching staff here because it's going to be a tough decision, really. It's going to be like, God, we want this to work. Our rookie core, the front office is going to be saying that. The ownership's going to be saying that. This is kind of working. Do we want to stunt the growth of our rookie, our franchise piece and Justin Herbert going forward? It's going to be a tough decision, and people will find that mind-blowing, but it kind of is a tough decision there. So that's something to monitor. We'll have you covered for in the offseason. That's things I can't wait for as soon as the offseason hits or as soon as the just playoffs hit. We get to see these decisions, and we'll have you covered for that in the rest of the year. Like always, playoffs are nearing. Cannot wait. Hopefully you can join us for all that. Subscribe, turn notifications on. We much appreciate it. Smash that like button. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.